and I applied to be the service manager for an organisation called LifeLink in those days, which was brand new, starting working with people with disabilities in the community up and down the country. It was owned by a group of doctors and professors around different parts of universities. And they employed me to set this up in Christchurch and all the greater Canterbury area. And I did that, started in June, and so employed 10 people, 10 of the staff. And the funny stories actually start then, because I was told to go around the South Island and do second interviews for the staff they had shortlisted. So I would bowl up to people, knock on their door and introduce myself. And so I'm here to do a follow-up interview for consideration of employment, and one by one they would say, well, that's strange. They pulled out a letter from Care Group, who owned LifeLink, to say, sorry, you were unsuccessful. So from day one it was embarrassing to start with, but we overcame that, and I employed the people they had shortlisted, and 2 of them are still working for me. So that's going from 1995 right through to now, which is exciting. We set up an office here in Christchurch and started operation. The very, very first day, I didn't come from a health background per se, and the first person I employed had, but we were receiving phone calls very early in the morning. We had no furniture, we had a broken piano stool, and that was it. And my cell phone started ringing, and we would say, hi, welcome to LifeLink, can we help you? And the caller would say, yes, you do needs assessments, and we would say, yes, we do, not knowing what we actually did. And we, by the end of the day, developed a full-scope page list of people that we would get back to. We didn't know what we were doing. We ripped the pieces of paper up into different sections and sent them around the South Island. For the ones calling from Invercargill, we sent them down there. We didn't know, but it was an eye-opener to us. We started things, we developed all the processes that are currently around the country these days. We established ourselves, we settled into a nice office. All the staff were great. And then things started to go a bit wrong, and within the first 3 months all the staff never got paid when they were meant to be paid, and it was fortnightly pays. They were all handled out of Wellington, and every time payday came and no pays were there, being the manager, I'd get on to the accountant in Wellington and say, what's happened? And always be a story, oh sorry, we need to get some more money, we need to put an overdraft, they'll be in there shortly, and they would go in there. The worst situation happened though one day when the pays went in and all the staff jumped for joy. They couldn't believe it. But the worst thing was they went down to the bank, and within 2 hours the pays going in, they'd all been withdrawn. All the accounts for all the equipment we had, I would just forward up to the accountant in Wellington, and they'd be paid. In early October, we actually knew that the managing director and his PA, a very lovely young lady, were going away on holiday together. And at the same time, the accountant was going on another holiday in a different part of the world, and we thought, well, that's fair enough, everyone's entitled to holidays. On about Sunday the 5th of October, I got a phone call from the chairman of the board of the parent company Care Group, asking if I could meet him at Christchurch Airport because he was flying from Wellington back to his home in Dunedin. And I said to my ex-wife, I said, well, that's exciting. She said, don't be silly, something's going on. Sure enough, when I got to the airport, I was told that the managing director had run away with basically all the shareholders' money, about $750,000 of funds. The shareholders couldn't put any more money into the company, and I was told that LifeLink was about to be going to liquidation the following Monday night. However, because it was very successful, and that was down to me, I was offered the chance to buy it. And I thought, well, this is exciting, and I was offered the chance to buy it for $1, which is just a transactional thing. So the next morning I thought, what do I do now? And I got hold of my lawyer and another legal advisor, I suppose, and one of them said, look, Craig, put it down to experience and just walk away now. Another one said, well, you've got compensation advisory services still there, why don't you look at getting it and attaching to that? So the negotiation started. I contacted the people in the Southern Regional Health Authority, SRHA, and we used to nickname them K Sarah, because what will be with the health system. And we got them on the phone, and we spent about half a day just talking backwards and forwards. In the end, we convinced the RHA they needed to fly me down to Dunedin to finalise the deal. So we did that. I pointed out to them that I had no cash or any cash flow, that if they wanted me to do the work, then they would have to pay me up front, which is unusual for the health system. I had also called the staff into the meeting after these negotiations and told them what was happening. And I said, look, I have no guarantees, I've got no money, I can't guarantee of employment, there's any future, but this is what I'm trying to do. And one by one, they each said, oh, that's fine, we'll be back later on, we've got some work to do, we'll see you later on. And they worked for 10 days without any pay or any guarantee or any hope that it was going to be paid at the end of the day. The RHA paid me some money up front, and one of the first things I did with it was honour the staff's loyalty and pay them straight away. And as I say, 2 of those staff are still with me, which is amazing. The bills hadn't been paid, and I was talking to the cell phone provider, and we had this wee argument that went on for about half an hour where the cell phone provider said, yes, you can take the numbers over, Craig, as long as you pay the outstanding bill. Nothing had been paid for over 3 months. And I reminded them that the liquidator actually owned all of them now. In the end, it resulted in me switching my phone off and throwing it across the room on the floor in disgust and thinking, what am I going to do now? Because all of our staff had mobile phones. That was the way we communicated. I knew I had some money from the RHA, so my ex-wife and I got in the car and we went around to another cell phone provider, picked up 10 brand new phones, and we walked back to our office. And the office we had was in Kilmore Street, and it had a ground floor right up to the roof glass front on it. And as we walked along in front of it, we saw all our staff lying on the floor with telephones and telephone books and their computers. The furniture had gone. So we went in and I said, okay, what's happened to the future of furniture? And one of the people just said, oh, it's been taken back, it's been reclaimed because it's been paid for. And I hit the roof, so I got on the phone straight away to the people and I said, Kevin, where's the furniture? He said, oh, it's on the truck, Craig. And I said, why? And he said, you haven't paid the bill. And I said, it's nothing to do with me. I said, that was all Care Group. And he said, well, if you want it, you've got to pay for it. And I hung up. So I got on the floor, this was a Friday, and started looking through the yellow pages for second-hand furniture. And it was probably about 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. After a while, I thought, silly. So I hung up. I closed that, and I rang this guy Kevin back, and I said, where is the furniture? He said, still on the truck, Craig. I said, here's the deal. You get it back in my office, set up the way you took it. Before 5 o'clock, I'll give you cash for it. And it was. That's the way it had to be for a wee while, because the credibility of the previous company had dragged my name down with supposedly owing money. And that's the way we worked for a long time. The funny side of the whole thing was funny, but the managing director, before he went on holiday, decided that he needed to do some staff training for this brand new program. And he got me to organise all the staff around the South Island to come to Christchurch for a big meeting. And they had very glossy brochures, training manuals, ring binders. It was top of the range stuff. He did this training, and as this introduction, he said to all the staff, we have this thing called the wow factor. When you have finished working with a client, we want that client to go, wow. And ever since then, the staff just crack up, whether they hear that managing director's name or if we see something written down, wow, we know what it's all about. And that was the birth of LifeLinks. What I did then was change from LifeLink. I thought we've got to make a change, so I added an S to it. We called it LifeLinks. I created my own letterhead, which was 2 L's, and I couldn't get them straight on the computer or wherever, and they were all on an angle. But we were like that for a wee while. We started things that, as I said before, are currently in existence. We would just take on work because we could. On one occasion, I was in Dunedin and happened to be walking through the Octagon, and the RHA had their offices in the Octagon, and there was someone yelled out, Craig, come here. So I went over, and it was 2 of the managers that I knew, and went into this room, and they had this big whiteboard, and they said, we've got this problem. We've got this provider in Christchurch that's been providing this service, it's called the Bureau, monitoring GP spend in particular funding area. But they don't want to do it anymore. We don't know what we're going to do with it. And I said, oh, I can do that for you. They said, would you? We knew you would. And I said, yeah, that's not a problem. So I went back to Christchurch, announced to my general manager, and I said, this is what we're going to do. And she said, what's it about? And I said, I've got no idea. But that's the way we did things. And we still do. We take on things that are probably a wee bit more cautious these days. I've learned that don't jump in straight away because they expect you to have the answers for them as well. The other story with LifeLinks, at the time of the demise of LifeLink, we had put in our very, very first tender to get a contract with the RHA in the mental health area. And soon after the demise, and I was sitting there now owning LifeLinks, very happy with myself, the phone rang and it was the contracts manager for the mental health area saying, "Craig, very sorry you weren't successful with your tender." And I said, "Oh, okay." And then she said, "But we want you to have it." And I said, "Oh, okay." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, you weren't successful, but we want you to have it." And I said, "That's good." She said, "You need to come down to Dunedin quickly and we will talk about it." So I got on a plane, went down to Dunedin. They ushered me into a very, very small office. And one by one, these people would come in. There would be the contract manager, there would be an analyst, there would be a financial person, there would be, you name it, would come in and they say, "Write this down." I would say, "What?" They say, "Write this down." And I was literally writing down what they wanted me to say to them in the first place. And they say, "Thank you very much," tear the piece of paper up and go away. And at the end of the day, they said, "Here's the contract, well done." And it's those sort of things that gave us the platform, because we still provide that service. It's been refined over the years as well. It's that, I suppose we can say, that can-do attitude that people know, or did certainly know in those days and still know, that we can, or I can, put something together from a blank piece of paper.